we're going to move on to our next finalist, which is the Airlink and USAID BHA Haiti Cholera Humanitarian Air Bridge Partnership.
The Haiti Humanitarian Air Bridge is a public-private partnership developed and managed by humanitarian logistics NGO Airlink, financed by USAID, the Bureau of Humanitarian Assistance, and resourced by commercial aviation and logistics companies. The project was born out of serious logistics and transportation challenges faced by NGOs responding to rapidly growing cholera outbreaks in Haiti.
Our disaster teams in Haiti and Washington, D.C. realized the humanitarian community faced a logistics challenge to bring cholera treatment supplies to Haiti. We discovered there were multiple and similar requests for logistics assistance being made by humanitarian partners. To help streamline efforts, USA decided to establish, formalize, and fund the Haiti Humanitarian Air Bridge in partnership with Airlink and other key logistics organizations. Thanks to these efforts, we were able to overcome supply chain disruptions and provide resources to local communities that help them in their fight against cholera.
As much as 75% of humanitarian funding is spent in the supply chain, from procurement and warehousing to transportation and customs clearance. Air transportation is often the most volatile and costly component of the supply chain. Air charter prices to Haiti have increased 160% in the last 6 years, with the offloading cost alone increasing 600% to more than $30,000. And air freight rates are at an all-time high. In the case of Haiti, the closure of seaports and restricted high-cost air transport options left NGOs without viable, affordable options to transport the supplies necessary to sustain this emergency response to the cholera outbreak.
There was a desperate need in Haiti, and those needs were largely unmet. The problems of transporting aid to Haiti were huge, and the world was distracted by Ukraine and other disasters. What was so frustrating about the situation in Haiti was that Global Medic had critical aid in the form of mobile field hospital tents to support the expansion of Partners in Health cholera treatment clinics. But what we didn't have was a way of getting those tents into Haiti that wasn't cost prohibitive or would mean that they'd arrive too late to prevent a pandemic. From an NGO's point of view, that's a heartbreaking scenario to face.
Food for the Poor was sending Manna Packs, a nutrient-rich food pack to help patients recover from cholera. But the need was growing, and what we were sending was often stuck in ports because of the closures as a result of gang violence across the island. This created a major challenge for us. We needed to continue to support the needs, and transporting heavy cargo via air transport was beyond our budget. This partnership was a game changer.
We knew from recent experiences that providing NGOs with predictable transportation through an air bridge would exponentially expand the amount of aid communities received as more and more NGOs became aware of its availability. But we also knew that to get it moving requires a dedicated core of partners working together and each bringing a unique set of resources and skills. Nothing about this program was easy. There were many, many moving parts. The UPS Foundation supported trucking services to Miami for cargo originating in the US. American Airlines leveraged existing space on their Paris and Dublin to Miami routes to move medicines and medical supplies procured in Europe. In addition to donating their logistics services, Sikka Logistics provided a consolidation warehouse for the first flight.
Logistics is the untold story of any disaster response. It's not aid if you can't get it there. As a logistics business, we know we have the resources to help move aid, but we need to know we are sending the right aid to the right places and that it can be distributed. We don't want just to send stuff. That is counterproductive. Partnership is critical for any business wanting to help in disaster response. We had been heavily involved in trucking and moving aid to Ukraine through Airlink and their NGO partner network. So we knew that this partnership had the ability to make a real and meaningful impact.
It was the American Airlines cargo team that identified unused cargo space in the belly of passenger planes traveling from Dublin and Paris to Miami, filling the empty space with essential medical supplies and cholera medicine only manufactured in Europe to the people of Haiti. Based on recent and past collaborations, we knew that with the partnership of Airlink and their NGO network, USAID and BHA, the UPS Foundation, plus other private sector actors, we would be doing the right thing and that we would be making a difference in the lives of thousands.
The Haiti Humanitarian Air Bridge provided the aid community with access to fast, free transportation, and that saved countless lives. 10 aid agencies benefit from this multi-country, multi-partner air bridge, which helped deliver 232 tons of aid across 29 shipments through 5 charter flights. Over 137,000 people gained access to water, sanitation, and hygiene services and supplies, including point-of-use water filtration devices and community-wide filtration systems. And nearly 45,000 people received treatment for cholera through IV fluids, testing, fortified meals, and medications. 100% of the NGOs assisted would otherwise have been unable to deliver supplies at the scale required for successful response. It was a true public-private partnership that made the impossible possible.
And representing that partnership, we have Stephanie Steege. Over to our judges.
Thanks for the excellent presentation and overall very interesting program. How do you see this kind of a model replicating based on your learnings that you have gained from this particular experience to other disasters? God forbid, no requirement should be there, but those things happen. So how do you see it replicating?
And you took my question.
And mine too.
Another one.
It's something that's really in the top of our minds right now because this is something that happened as a result of a complex emergency. Haiti, since 2010, but even more recently 2016, has really struggled to recover. But we're seeing this kind of thing happen around the world as a result of climate change, conflict, these layered crises becoming sort of a blocker to NGOs responding around the world. We are looking at replicating this model, and this program was really a proof of concept for sending more aid around the world and helping more of our NGO partners scale what they do. So we're looking at doing this in Afghanistan. We're looking at doing this in Sudan. We're looking at doing this potentially in partnership with government funders in the Pacific, where it's really difficult to get aid to Tonga, Fiji, Vanuatu after an emergency. Ultimately, what we need is funding because the core of what Airlink does is building partnerships. We are engaged year-round with NGOs. We know where they work. We know what they do. We know what they need in order to respond to an emergency. But there is very little funding out there for logistics. It is one of the single most underfunded parts of any humanitarian response because it's thought of as a service, not a program. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to advocate for that so we can stand up these air bridges to meet those acute needs and bridge the gaps to longer-term aid and relief.
As you're looking at potential expansion of this in the future, going back to that question about funding, what are some of the key characteristics that you'd be looking for in funders there? I mean, it sounds like USAID played a really pivotal role in this case. Do you see that role as really kind of being taken by government funders predominantly, or do you see roles for other folks like the private sector or philanthropy to step in?
I think it's a space that everyone can play in. USAID was really pivotal here because they committed this funding actually for Latin America and the Caribbean in general. They committed it in August, September of last year, and they committed it for hurricanes. That didn't happen last year, but what did happen was a cholera outbreak in Haiti. And so having that flexible funding to be able to do what we needed to do and respond to the actual humanitarian need was really important. But likewise, as you saw in the video, there's a huge role for private sector to play here because they're doing what they do every day. They're just doing it to help people. So American Airlines is flying things around the world. UPS is trucking them to where they need to go. SECO is giving us consolidated warehouse space and helping with the coordination to get things on flights, make sure they're packaged correctly. And we're sitting in the middle, making sure it all comes together. The right NGOs are sending the right aid to the right place at the right time. So it really, it takes all kinds to do this kind of work. Funding from foundations if they're interested in logistics, or if they're interested in the nexus of climate change and health, because that is really what this program is. We welcome that, but the private sector also has a role to play here as well as USAID and other government funders.
A question sort of related to that, where congratulations on this wonderful partnership, and it really is a true P3, having USAID, having UPS, having American Airlines, just having so many different parties involved, and that goes to my question a bit of, it must have taken a lot to sort of wrangle all those different entities. So what are some learnings you can share from that experience, either challenges or things that surprised you in a good way?
I think we learned that we really need to plan in advance. We learn this every time an emergency happens. You need those partnerships in place before an emergency happens. Otherwise, it doesn't come together. So American Airlines, for instance, we'd been working with since the outset of the Ukraine crisis. And we brought this to them. They had said to us so many times, we don't have space into Haiti. There's too much luggage going into Haiti. So we took a different path. We said, well, what if you can get it from Charles de Gaulle to Miami, and then we'll take it on another aircraft? And that was a way that they could fill a gap. So we really learned we have to have those partnerships in place ahead of time. We have to have those SOPs in place ahead of time, so we all know how to act together. I think the learning that we'll take away from this when we look at replicating this elsewhere is that we really need the on-the-ground logistics partners to be able to pave the way for that last mile. Haiti, it's been a challenging context to work in. We just sent our last flight last month, and the gang violence, and it's bogged down customs clearance. It's created a difficult situation for the government, for NGOs. But having SECO and their local partners has helped us, clear customs expediently and deliver the aid where it needs to go through gang-ridden areas. But we need those partnerships elsewhere, otherwise it's never going to work. You're going to get aid that's just stuck at the airport and it never makes it to the people that need it.
Thank you, and congratulations. I have, two questions again, I'm sorry. The first one is, it's very interesting how this actually came about and happened, right? And I'm sure, and you can see it with the material. There were lots of things that happened together to make it work, and you knew American, and USAID had the funding, et cetera. And it was Haiti, which is relatively close to Miami. But is this something that you can see can be, for example, replicated in terms of natural disasters? Because cholera, you had to act fast, but you knew that it's a medical problem. If you have a hurricane, if you have, for example, the case that there's going to be many adaptation issues in the Caribbean, and there's going to be lots of, hopefully not, but it seems unfortunately that it's going to happen in the coming years. With the climate change, there's going to be disasters. Is that something that you can easily replicate for climate disasters? And in that sense, you don't necessarily, what if you don't have the air cargo part? Can you do it for just like land logistics? Can you do it for other types of transportation?
So we are Airlink, first and foremost. So we do operate mostly by air, but we have been looking at ways to, do a ground bridge, if you will, not just an air bridge. I think it can, and it has worked for us in rapid onset emergencies. So with the Turkey-Syria earthquake earlier this year, we had just started a partnership with Turkish Airlines. And the earthquake happened. We were able to work with IFRC to organize 11 flights from Lahore into Adana and Gaziantep to bring in tents that were then needed on the ground. So I think it's, obviously that was many fewer partners involved, but it's something that we have been able to do at scale over the last several years. And this sort of was a proof of concept. You can do it for that rapid onset emergency, but also in a very sustained way, because this was over 3-4 months that we had to sustain this. So I think it can.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, Stephanie. Round of applause.